UFC Fight Night Mexico, Moreno versus Erceg was this past weekend. I'm going to be giving my entire breakdown and recap of the card, starting from the very early prelim of Markel Medeiros versus Austin Hubbard, all the way up to the main event. We'll start with that fight. Medeiros and Hubbard. This fight was really, really close. Medeiros did not look super impressive. Sorry, my chair's a little creaky, guys. If you can tell, I've got a little different thing going on now that I'm home for spring break. Markel Medeiros versus Austin Hubbard. So Medeiros made this look so much harder than it should have been. Very, very close though. Very even fight. Medeiros did a lot of damage in the later round and third round, which is what I think won him the fight. That elbow that really hurt Austin Hubbard and cut him open during the third round is what gave him the fight. I think, some people were saying, robbery because it's in Mexico. Medeiros trains out of America, lives in America. He's not necessarily Mexican in terms of, where he lives. Maybe his heritage is, but a little bit different in terms of if you're talking bias. All right, we know who got some bias. There really wasn't that many on this card, to be really honest. One of the fights you could have said maybe, Raul Rosas, you could say, potentially, but we'll wait on those. Medeiros, he didn't look terrible. I'm glad that he knows that he does have to improve anyway, because he did not look good enough in that fight to really be, where he should be in the division. But what I will say is, he won. That's what matters. He won. And, winning against Austin Hubbard, a vet, is a decent win in this day and age. So Medeiros really has to improve. But wins for him early in his career are important. So big win for him. Close decision. Shouldn't have been that close, but he did win. He won 2-1. He won rounds 1 and 3. Moving up the card. Jamal Emmers versus Gabriel Miranda. Okay. This was a very obvious fight to predict. Gabriel Miranda is trash. He should not be in the UFC. Jamal Emmers actually has talent and power and has fought really good guys in the featherweight division. But Emmers, he did what I expected. Got an unbelievable KO, and then his coaches, were about to reenact the fight or something in his corner. I mean, those two guys were going at it. The black dude was just completely calling out the old guy after Emmers' KO. I just don't. What happened in that corner to cause that? Sorry for the really bad lighting today, guys. We're having to scrap together a little setup. Moving up the card, Rafa Garcia versus Vink Pichel. Okay. I just was trying to think back to this fight. So Vink Pichel, he's 42. Now this was a fight that I thought was a little bit close. I feel like it could have gone either way. Really, I do. I had it for Pichel, I'm not gonna lie, in terms of damage and activity. Rafa Garcia. This guy, he is super athletic. He bounces inside, in and out with his boxing range, and he feints a lot, but he doesn't let it go. And, the fight looked better in Garcia's favor because he's backing up Pichel the whole time. He had cage control the entire time. He was feigning a lot, oh, look, I might land this right hand. I'm just not going to throw it. And then Pichel would kind of piece him up in the boxing range once they actually got there. Once Garcia actually would throw a shot or just get into the boxing range to try and slip and then throw a shot, Vink Pichel was just piecing him up on the inside. So I felt like that, and that was a lot of the fight. So I felt Pichel had won the fight in that way. But it was close. Garcia landed some good shots as well. And he implemented takedowns. But I felt Pichel did a lot better in terms of, the boxing range, and he was throwing more, and he was doing a much better job countering than commentary was giving him credit for. I felt like commentary was just completely on Garcia's dick the whole time. because they don't know what they're watching. We'll get to the main event. But, whatever. I thought Pichel won, but very close fight. Fight doesn't mean shit. But Rafa Garcia, you need to get better too. Because if you are taking a 42-year-old lightweight to a decision, a really close one, that's not good enough. You need to fire. You need to let your hands go, man. You can tell he has so much power. And he bounces in and out and he gets into the boxing range. He needs to let that right hand go sometimes, man. Like, it looks like he's trying to emulate Topuria, and then he just doesn't even fucking try to throw it. Or JDM. It's like same thing. Whatever. Moving up the card. Lupi Godinez versus Julia Pilastri. Okay, I thought this was a very, very good fight. Women's MMA has been on an absolute tear. This is an awesome fight. I picked Lupi Godinez. I wasn't able to do a predictions video on this card. I didn't have a lot of time. Sorry, guys. I was dealing with a lot of stuff at the end of the week. But I did post my predictions on my Twitter, which I picked the first two fights correctly. I think I picked Vink Pichel, though, but I still think that I got that fight. So I was 2-1, 3-1 up until this one. Yeah, really good fight. Action-packed. They were really going at it. They would hurt each other with decent shots and moments, but Godinez was, ultimately the one who was implementing the grappling and really trying to, I feel like win the fight. Pilastri was doing a good job landing, but I felt that Lupi Godinez just slightly got the better of her in certain exchanges, and I felt like, obviously implementing the grappling the way she did win the fight. Convincingly, I think. Like, I think it maybe, it wasn't like a super runaway decision, but she convincingly won the fight. Like, if you didn't think she won the fight, let's be real, she won the fight. But good win from Lupi Godinez. I'm happy that she was able to get a win. If you actually read her story, I believe it was Lupi Godinez. It was. On the Sphere card where she fought. No, it wasn't Lupi Godinez. It wasn't. Never mind. Forget what I was going to say, guys. Alright, I'm a little slow. Moving up the card. Christian Rodriguez versus Malik Wazell Costa. I should have picked Malik Wazell. I'm 99% sure I picked Christian Rodriguez. I'm checking again here. I did. Of course. Christian Rodriguez is like the ultimate. This guy is going to be a demon to UFC fans for the next decade. I can already tell. He's fraud checked so many prospects. Raul Rosas, Austin Bashi, Cameron Simon. He loses to Julian Erosa. He loses to Malik Wazell Costa. Now, Malik Wazell Costa is now on a 3-fight win streak. He's been active. He just randomly got that win at Seattle against Andre Fili. Big win, submitted him. And then now he gets another big win by decision at UFC Mexico just over a month later. Huge win for Malik Wazell Costa. I'm excited to see what he does next. They're definitely going to give him a name at featherweight or just some sort of really high-level unranked featherweight. That's something they should look at from Malik Wazell Costa. He really did improve, and I would like to see him against somebody good. Christian Rodriguez, I hate you. You completely ruin prospects that we like, and then you go shit the bed when we pick you. So go fuck yourself. JK, if you fuck with me, then I'm sorry. Anyway, moving up the card. Jose Medina versus Atepe Gautier. Now, this was just murder. If you saw what I tweeted abuse in the octagon, which is what it was. Jose Medina is absolutely terrible. The fact that the UFC let him in just because he's a fat Mexican who was able to take a lot of punches on the Dana White's Contender Series and still lose. The fact that they took him in off that performance. It's obvious there's a Mexican bias in the UFC right now. We know there is. That's why they're doing so much Mexico work. And we've already seen Dana already talk about all this. And that's why there were so many Mexican fighters on Dana White's Contender Series this past summer. Not because, oh my God, there's just so much Mexican talent. No. None of the English fighters were put on Dana White's Contender Series. Luke Riley still isn't even in the fucking UFC, and this dude is good enough to be ranked, in my opinion. And, you know, we all know a bunch of European prospects at the UFC. Let's get away. Paul Hughes, Cedric Doumbé, whatever. But then they bring in Jose Medina, you know. And then they let go of Artem Vakitov because they can't offer him more than 12-12. And then now he's going to fight Glory and he's going to fight Rico Verhoeven. I hate the UFC sometimes. And then they bring in this fat bitch, Jose Medina, who has no idea how to fight. Like, this dude is absolutely terrible at MMA. He's just some fucking fat dude who can take shots. He lost all of his weight, and then he gets KO'd in the first round. Now, I will say, Gautier is absolutely a prospect at middleweight. He's very raw. We can see it in his style. He's not super clean, and his grappling is very new, and we haven't seen a lot of it. They need to matchmake his upcoming fights the right way, and he needs to improve. Like, he needs to develop correctly. He needs to be training all the time and grappling specifically and then just working pads, man. Like, honestly, he just needs to get crisper with some of his shots. And he's going to be a force to be reckoned with at middleweight because of his sheer natural athleticism, I wonder. It's not because he's African or anything, like, from Africa. Like, this dude is he's literally Ngannou. But middleweight. Not really, guys, but you know what I mean. But no, he that's the comparison everyone's making, right? I believe he's from Cameroon. Teba Gautier. Yeah, from Cameroon. He's 6'4". He's a massive dude for the division. Absolutely shredded. Probably doesn't even lift weights like Ngannou. But he's 7-1. He's got a fuck ton of power in his hands. I mean, they're very similar. And Gautier doesn't have really any grappling credentials right now. And I do like the fact that he has a loss on his record, though. Honestly, I think that's better than if he was 7-0. Because if this guy if he had no losses on his record, I would be more concerned, like, okay, so this guy doesn't know how to lose yet. So he'll just lose. And then he's not going to really know, like, he's not... The fact that he loses early, I like fighters that come into UFC with 1 or 2 losses rather than 0. Depending on the prospect, of course. If they fought good enough competition. But generally what happens is these guys become 7-8-0, or they'll become like 5-0, and then they're like, well, do I really need to fight really good competition right now because I'm undefeated? If I can just get 2 more fights, maybe I can get invite on the Contender Series and get a low ball matchup like they keep doing sometimes on Dana White's Contender Series. But Gautier, he's lost before. He knows what it's like, and I like that. I think that's good for his career because now he goes into the UFC. He knows what it's like to lose. He has that desperation not to lose, and he doesn't want to taste that feeling again. I'm excited about Gautier because I really do like the talent and the ability that we have from him and the power, the sheer power. And we need a guy like this at middleweight. We really do. We need an athletic fucking freak at middleweight. We have guys, not many like this one. And Jose Medina is absolutely dog shit. If the UFC does not cut him and they stick him on that Guadalajara pay-per-view card, which was announced over the weekend, if you didn't hear, the pay-per-view for UFC Noche this year. Mexican Independence Day weekend area. They're going to do a pay-per-view in Guadalajara, UFC 320. 320, really. They're trying to get Diego to headline it if he beats Volk. If not, then I think they might just stick Pantoja in there for a title shot. And then also, Alexa Grasso could fight for an interim belt if they do Zhang Weili, Shevchenko, or if they do, or Grasso could, we'll get a big fight. We'll see what happens with who headlines that card. They might have to stick a random, in that main event, but we'll see. Maybe you can get Ilya on that card. That probably wouldn't be the worst thing ever, especially if you can do Ilya versus whoever, Charles. We'll see. But Jose Medina should be cut from the UFC. He's absolutely dog shit. And Teba Gautier, I'm excited to see what he does next. But he really does need to improve still in terms of just his technique and his his technique and his grappling, of course, but we haven't seen it yet, so he just needs to keep improving. Moving up the card, Ronaldo Rodriguez versus Kevin Borjas. Lazy boy, lazy boy, lazy boy. He lived up to the name, this fight. Missed weight, too lazy to cut the last pound, and looked like shit. I mean, he looked like shit. I was waiting for this to happen. I picked Ronaldo Rodriguez just because I don't think Kevin Borjas is good, and I thought that he's not going to be the guy to beat Ronaldo Rodriguez because I didn't think he was quite good enough because Ronaldo does have a very, very good record. So, yeah, Ronaldo has a really good record. So I was expecting, okay, even though I can tell that he's not the greatest, I mean, this dude got dropped brutally by Ode Osborne, and he barely won that fight. You know, let's say if it was on a, fight with Ode Osborne's nationality, if it was on a card like that, I'm assuming Ode Osborne would have won, guys. But, you never know. But Ronaldo Rodriguez looked terrible. Kevin Borjas really isn't even that good either. Losing to a guy like Kevin Borjas is a terrible sign for the future of Ronaldo Rodriguez. He had a little bit of hype, and he's obviously very popular. He has 2 million followers on Instagram. And he just got absolutely fraud-checked. I mean, this is the real definition of fraud check. A 2-0 flyweight, I believe he was 2-0, in the UFC, gets another shitter layup flyweight, and he loses in his hometown. I mean, it's, or home country. I don't know if he's from Mexico City, probably not. But, it's a terrible sign for Ronaldo Rodriguez's career. And good win from Kevin Borjas. I mean, he just absolutely outclassed Rodriguez on the feet. And, yeah. Sorry, I had to get that one out. I've been doing a lot of stuff today. Hit back and buys today, boys. Gotta keep up. Moving up the card, David Martinez versus Simon Oliveira. Now, this was obvious. Martinez is an actual prospect for Mexico. Like, this guy is an actual guy to watch out for in Mexico. So, finally, we have another prospect. Honestly, if I'm the UFC, I'm getting this guy in there in May or June and getting him one more fight before the Guadalajara card, so then maybe you could justify giving him a ranked opponent if you can give him a decent enough unranked bantamweight. A decent enough unranked bantamweight, like an Yvette, that you could give him, and he can win by a spectacular finish. They could justify giving him a ranked opponent in the bantamweight division, David Martinez, but they probably won't do that. They'll probably save him a little bit and try to, progress him to the top rather than jumping him straight up to the top. But David Martinez is absolutely, he's fantastic. He is a great prospect. Such good boxing. His defense is great. He's clean. He's accurate. Simon Oliveira is bad. This was a layup, but he did exactly what he should have done with the layup. He finished him in the first round, completely demolished him on the feet up until that point, and completely implemented his style. And he's also 12-1. I really, really like that. He's already lost before. He's got that feeling. He's not gonna want it again, and I like that. He's not some shit. He's not some he hasn't been given his record. He earned his record at 12-1. So. Huge win. Awesome KO. Yeah. Huge win from David Martinez. I'm excited to see what he does next. Cut Simon Oliveira. Moving up the card. Raul Rosas Jr. versus Vince Morales. Okay, now here's one of the other fights that you could argue to be a little bit of a hometown advantage. Raul Rosas, I did think won. I think he did enough with his takedowns. He did enough with, I feel like he did land some of the bigger shots on the feet. Vince Morales is kind of tippy-tappy a little bit. He nearly had Raul Rosas in that choke, but, fucking iron chin, that he's got. He's never going to get submitted. Never. This guy will never lose by a neck submission. Like, I refuse to believe that this will ever happen. Raul Rosas, his chin is just too big, abnormally large to get choked. And If he loses by any sort of submission, it would maybe a triangle off bottom, or an armbar, obviously, or a leg lock, anything like that. But any sort of choke, triangle off bottom is like the only thing I think you can catch this dude with. All right, you're not getting him with a darce. You're not getting. Hey, his abnormally large chin's probably gonna help him. He probably has a decent chin. He's never really gotten his chin exposed, so. Interesting, but he's also fought terrible opponents. Raul, he's 5-1 in the UFC. A lot of his opponents are layups. I mean, pretty much all of them. I mean, this was a huge layup for him, and he just barely scraped by with the decision. It's like, I get he's a prospect. He really needs to. He really needs to get better quick, because they're going to start being like, hey, man, you got 5 wins. Like, you should be improving. He's the youngest ever to get 5 wins. Good for him. But it's, a little easier when you've got so many layups. I think the only reason Rosas is really getting a lot of wins right now is because of his size advantage that he has at bantamweight. And he was already talking about moving up to featherweight, and I'm just like, dude, your only chance right now is you're bigger than everybody. If he goes at featherweight, man, that skill, I don't know if he's really got the skill for featherweight. He's got to improve, man. His striking really has to improve. His striking is poor to be a ranked fighter, especially if Raul Rosas wants to actually pursue that. Now he's 20 years old. Youngest champ ever, seems completely out of sight unless he can just somehow get a ranked win this year. But yeah, I don't think so. I think UFC, maybe they'll give him a ranked opponent for the Guadalajara card, just because they'll need big fights for that card, and Rosas is one of the bigger names. He's young. He has 5 wins. You can justify giving him a shot, even though he hasn't fought really any good opponents. He needs more time. Like, I'm not saying this is what I would do. If I was the UFC, I would give him more time, and I'd give him, like, a decent ranked or unranked guy, but nothing crazy, man. Raul Rosas is not good enough for ranked guys yet, and if he fights a ranked guy, he will lose. I will pick against him. Unless it's, like, a really good style matchup for him, but, again, I doubt it. Moving up the card, Edgar Chairez versus CJ Vergara. All right. This is about what I expected. Now, Edgar Chairez looked fucking awesome out there. He walked out like a little mini Poetan and fucking made clean work of CJ Vergara. But Vergara is terrible. Again, another guy who should not be in the UFC anymore. Chairez hurt Vergara bad, got the submission. You hurt him with that big left hook. It was a 1-2-3. He kind of feinted on the right and built his way up into the left hook and got it. Huge win from Edgar Chairez. I'm very interested to see what he does, because this is a guy who, again, he hurt Joshua Van bad. And Joshua Van, I think, gives problems to almost any single not huge flyweight. I mean, Joshua Van is an unbelievable boxer, and Chairez hurt him a lot in that fight at the Sphere. So, and obviously Van was coming off a KO only a couple months before that. So what I will say is that, like, there's an asterisk behind that fight, but again, Chairez did not look bad in that fight at all. He's very skilled, very fast, got good power. And I'm excited to see what he does next. I really hope he gets a decent matchup, and the UFC can really start building up his name at flyweight, because I think a lot of people like Edgar Chairez. And obviously this feature fight was supposed to be Joe Pyfer versus Kelvin Gastelum, but Joe Pyfer, the little bitch boy, cried about a little altitude sickness that he got from traveling to Mexico for the first time. And then now he's, bitching about it on the internet, being like, he's like, oh, I'm never going back to that shithole country again. Shithole country, here's a shithole because I got sick. He's such a little baby, bro. Like, that is so lame. I've been to Mexico, and you get a little bit of, you feel that when you get down there. You just gotta fucking, like, live with it, dude. And I get it if he needed to pull out But there needs to start being punishments for some of these pullouts, man, because this happens way too often. The day of fights. I mean, I feel like it's almost been every single fucking card this year that like the day of the fight, someone pulls out or something happens, and it just ruins the momentum of the card. And, I mean, we were supposed to have a huge fight. I mean, this was a big fight. Kelvin Gastelum, Joe Pyfer. Joe Pyfer's super hyped up by the UFC. Very close to being ranked middleweight. Kelvin Gastelum, potentially kind of a last chance for him in Mexico. I mean, this is going to be a huge fight. But Joe Pyfer's a little bitch, and he pulled out. So, whatever. Yeah. Good win for Edgar Chairez. Moving up the card. Co-main event. Manuel Torres versus Drew Dober. I picked Drew Dober, guys. I should have known not to pick Drew Dober unless it's against, an opponent of a certain race. But hey, I mean, Manuel Torres, I worried about Manuel Torres in this fight just because of, he is coming off a KO. Like, he looked good against Ignacio Bahamondes. And he was arguably winning a lot of that fight up until the KO with Bahamondes. But Bahamondes, the way he beat Jalen Turner, I should have picked Manuel Torres. But, I don't know. I trusted Drew Dober. I liked the time off after the recent fight with Gene Silva in July. I liked the time off until March. He took some time off. Now he's wanting to come back now in this July after getting brutally fucking slept. Like, Drew Dober, you gotta wait off till, like, the winter, dude. And you gotta take on a fucking shitter opponent. Maybe Terrence McKinney. It'd be a good fight for him. But huge win for Manuel Torres. I mean, it was slick performance, and then just nailed him with a huge right hand right on the chin. Dober goes down and then hits him on the side of the head with a bunch of elbows and punches until the ref finally decides to step in and stop it. But, I mean, that was a brutal fucking KO. So, huge win for Manuel Torres, man. Really getting a name like that at lightweight, huge. Dober's on a losing slump, though. Torres could probably use one more win before a ranked opponent, but again, they might just give him a ranked opponent for the Guadalajara card because they need names. But yeah, I mean, huge win for Manuel Torres. They could justify giving him a ranked lightweight, depending on what happens, of course, at that division. Or they might just give him a name at lightweight, a Rebecca, something to that degree. I think they should give him a decent matchup. Manuel Torres is very, very good, and I'm excited to see what he does next in the lightweight division. And I like that we did get some names here for Mexican. I mean, these last 4 consecutive fights, I mean, I think all 4 of these Mexicans have ability to become ranked people at some point. David Martinez, unbelievable prospect out of Mexico. Raul Rosas, needs time to develop, but he's got a lot of hype behind him, obviously. Edgar Chairez looked fantastic in the fight. Has put up really good fights recently, and I think I can see him making it far in the future, especially if he keeps fighting in Mexico. Manuel Torres, I mean, this is a guy who is definitely going to have a ranking by his name at lightweight at some point in his career, and I really like Manuel Torres. This is a huge win for him. Mexico's going to have, I think they did a good job. This is perfect spacing from the Guadalajara card. You're getting a card in March. You can build some names off of it. And, I can see almost every single person from this main card ending up on the Mexico card. Every single winner from this main card ending up on the next Mexico card. So, huge for the UFC that they were able to get a lot of those guys to win. But they also did give them easier matchups in hindsight. But some of them, harder matchups. Manuel Torres, Drew Dober. I picked Drew Dober. I mean, it was close, and I understand why people pick Manuel Torres, but I mean, it was very, very close. But then, Martinez, they gave him a layup. Raul Rosas, they gave him a layup. Edgar Chairez, they gave him a layup. Ronaldo Rodriguez was supposed to be a layup, but what are you gonna do? All right, I'm getting off track. Moving up the card, main event: Brandon Moreno versus Steve Erceg. Okay. Moreno. Sorry, guys. Moreno obviously won the fight. Let's be real here. Moreno obviously won this fight. And Erceg is very good. UFC commentary really needs to understand what to talk about. I realize that they're not professionals, and they really have no idea what they're supposed to be talking about during a fight. Steve Erceg is losing 3-1 in the 5th round, and they're just like, man, Erceg's jab is just so good. He's just so good. And he's losing the entire fight. I mean, he won one of the rounds, maybe two. I had it 3-1 going into the 5th. Moreno won the 5th. Moreno looked hungry. His boxing looked clean. He was parrying everything, slipping. I mean, he wasn't letting Erceg really, like, hit him. Like, Erceg would, tappy, tap, 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 tap on the jab, tap, tap. Oh, another tap. Oh, yeah. Like, and he would land, with moments. And I liked the front kicks coming from Erceg. I really thought one of those would land. I mean, they did occasionally, but nothing was a lot of impact. He wasn't really chopping up Moreno's leg too well. I mean, he was doing okay. But again, he's kind of, tippy-tappy, tap, 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 tap on the leg kick, while Moreno would be firing right hands. And Erceg, man, this is what lost you the Kai Kara-France fight. I mean, when you're facing another orthodox fighter, you just completely drop your left hand. Every single time. I mean, to fade off a big overhand right, you just do a little, you do like a Philly shell, shoulder bump, but that's really for a straight right. That's not for a big fucking, Brandon Moreno, over the top right hook. And so then Erceg is just, and he's not even leaving his hand up here like this, which, you said really shouldn't be doing, but he's he's not even like this. He's just like that's what he's doing, because he's throwing a jab, and then Moreno will kind of go in with that right hand, and Erceg is just kind of like this. And he just kind of leans back, and he keeps his eyes on it. But that's doing you no good when Moreno's just going to completely fucking crack you. And he rocked Erceg in the first 2 minutes with it. Or at least the first half of the round. He hurt Erceg bad with that right hand. And I was like, oh my god, Erceg's going to get slept again by the same fucking punch. But no, his chin held up this time. And I think that last time was just a little bit of the after title fight kind of thing that generally likes to happen. Poor Steve Erceg, he's literally Dominic Reyes 2.0, except that Reyes had a little bit more of a brutal downfall just because he got KO'd every single time, and he got KO'd basically every single time. He got KO'd by Jan, KO'd by Yuri, KO'd by Ryan Spann, I believe. It's a little bit different. Anyway, he didn't, and I didn't think Erceg won that Pantoja fight. I scored it 3-2 Pantoja because of the thing Erceg did in the end of the 5th round where he shot for a takedown and then got reversed. But, yeah, I mean, it was a good win for Moreno. His boxing looked crisp. That right hand was there all day. He was landing it all day. And he was just being clean, landing the bigger shots, and Erceg was just kind of tappy tap 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 tap, and the significant strikes numbers are just terrible. I mean, the fact that they almost count all of Erceg's strikes as significant strikes is such a fucking joke, because I think I counted probably 20 significant strikes for Erceg. I mean, he barely landed anything that was really detrimental to Moreno, and Moreno's firing fucking knockout punches. And that's the one thing that's in terms of issues with Brandon Moreno, is that he really does kind of he really does just kind of I don't know how to say it. I mean, he's just very, he hunts for the KO at times, which is okay. But that's what he did against Royval in the rematch that they had in Mexico last year. And he was just kind of hunting Royval, and Royval was so much better technically in terms of his defense than Erceg was. And Moreno couldn't get anything going. So I think that if they did a trilogy, which I think that's the matchup that should happen next. That's how I would matchmake Brandon Moreno's next fight, is I would do the trilogy with Brandon Royval, just because that fight's already happened twice. They're 1-1. They're both at these like winning streaks in the division after title shots where they've already lost twice to Pantoja. So I honestly think they're both on 2-fight win streaks since then. Do it. Do the trilogy fight. The winner gets that title shot. I just think that's the perfect fight to do at this time. Do the trilogy. It's one in piece. Do it in Mexico City. 5 rounds. You can make it the co-main. And I think that's the fight. Give Brandon Moreno an extra fight, and I think that's worth it. I think that fight would really decide a true number 1 contender at flyweight, and it would justify a trilogy with Pantoja, even though both those guys have lost to him already twice, and Brandon Moreno, including the Tough Series loss. Now, Steve Erceg. Again, we've already talked about his tippy-tappy shit, but we're not gonna be too bad in the commentary. We already talked about that. His next matchup, Tim Elliott. I've heard Kaya Sakura. I really don't want to see that. I mean, like, I do, just not right now. I think that should be more of a Erceg comes off a win, Asakura gets a win, then we do that matchup ranked 6 and 7. The winner gets a title elimination bout. I think that's something that would be a little bit better. But I would say Tim Elliott for Steve Erceg. You could give him a Timurov fight. I think that he would win that fight. I think he wins against a lot of the guys in the early teens. Anything below 10 at flyweight. So I really hope that Erceg does get a very, very easy matchup. I'd be shocked otherwise if they don't. But they better. They need to reset his career. And I think a Tim Elliott would be a really, really good fight. Because I think the rumors are that Tagir Ulanbekov is going to be the guy who's fighting Hiraguchi, which, we'll see. I wouldn't mind Hiraguchi versus Asakura. I also wouldn't mind it versus Manel Cap. But listen, who deserves the title shot at flyweight? That's a conversation that UFC fans need to have. The UFC messed up by not doing Merab versus Pantoja. I really don't get why they didn't do it. This gives respect to Pantoja. You're not going to be able to get the Mighty Mouse fight in terms of big fights for Pantoja. I think Brandon Royval versus Brandon Moreno makes way too much sense right now. The trilogy, I already talked about this. It'd be a 3-fight win streak. It would earn a trilogy with Alexandria Pantoja, who's already beat them twice. So I think if I'm the UFC, you can't get that Mighty Mouse fight done. Do the Merab fight. This gives your respect to Pantoja as a legend. Makes a fantastic main event for New Jersey, but now it's going to be Merab versus O'Malley 2, which is everyone's dying to see. I mean, there's no true number 1 contender at bantamweight. No true number 1 contender at flyweight. It's the perfect time, and it's an interesting fight. I mean, it is. I think Merab wins, and I'm sure a lot of you do too. But is it not an interesting fight? Is it not something we'd like to see happen? I think it's the perfect time to do it. You're not going to get perfect times to do double champ fights. You generally have to kind of force it into your schedule. The UFC has 2 on their hands right now, and they're going to fumble them both. They're not going to get fucking Merab Pantoja, and we're not going to get Islam versus Ilya. They're fumbling the double champ fights, and it's sad that they have on their hands. In terms of scheduling, it works perfectly, and now it's a fucking issue. But now, and then you could have done O'Malley versus Petr Yan 2, and then, oh my god, we would have had a fucking fixed division. But no. So, sigh. We'll see what happens. I hear Merab wants to move up. I think he loses to Volk. Oh, actually, he might beat Volk. He would lose to Diego. He would absolutely lose to Diego. But I could see him beating Volk. To be honest, at this point in Volk's career, I could see him beating Volk. I'm not saying 100%, but I'd have to see the build up, but I also would not be shocked if I'd give that fight to Merab. Okay. But the UFC is going to have to figure out who they give a title shot at flyweight. If they do Brandon Moreno because of the pay-per-view in Guadalajara and you need a title fight, Pantoja Moreno. If, we'll see what we're going to get. I think it's going to be Merab O'Malley and then Pena Harrison at New Jersey. So, International Fight Week. Do you know what I think International Fight Week is going to be? I think it's going to be Dricus versus Hamzat, and then it's going to be Pantoja versus Cap or Kai Kara France. It's going to be a mid-A International Fight Week. Fantastic main event, but co-main, it's a title fight. And then we'll see after that. But, that's what I think is going to happen. Who deserves a title shot more between Kai Kara France and Manel Cap? And truly, it's Manel Cap. But he's coming off multiple impressive wins. 2-fight win streak compared to a 1-fight win streak. Lost to Makayev by very close decision. We all Makayev Makayev was undefeated. I don't like Makayev, but let's be real. And then he beats Almabayev, which a lot of people thought would have success at flyweight, and he did. And he was on a win streak. Bruno Silva, but, it's a win. And he looked fantastic in that performance. He looked amazing against Almabayev, too. So, in my opinion, I would give the title shot to Manel Cap, especially because he looked more impressive against Pantoja than Kai Kara France did. Manel Cap has a win over Pantoja. I mean, I think that makes more sense. More of a competitive matchup the way Manel Cap has been looking. But I think ideally they could have done Merab Pantoja and then Kai Kara France versus, Manel Cap, and then Brandon Moreno versus Brandon Royval, and then boom, you've got 2 guys ready for a title. But whatever. UFC just can't figure out how to make their divisions, apparently. So we'll see who they end up giving this title shot to at flyweight. I think it'll be Kai Kara France just because that's been in the talks for a while now. It was going to be at Miami, and then it was going to be at New Jersey, and then now it's not even going to be at New Jersey probably unless they give us 3 title fights, which I don't think the UFC will do, and it'll probably be at International Fight Week now. So I don't know what's going to happen at flyweight. I've been yapping about this for way too long. I need to go. I hope you enjoyed that recap video. I'll upload more videos this week. I'll obviously upload a predictions video for Lerone Murphy versus Josh Emmett. That fight's going to be a fucking war. I guarantee it. And the rest of the card, obviously, which is not terrible, not great. And then next week, Diego Lopez versus Volk. It's happening, guys. Patty, Michael Chandler. Oh, God. I'm so excited. And then we'll see any other videos I'm going to upload this week. I've had a lot of busy stuff I've been doing, but, maybe once I get in the groove, I'll upload some more fun videos this week for you guys. All right. That's all I'm doing today. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Bye.